Chapter 1361, Purple Mountain True Monarch vs. Duke Long. Chapter 1361, Purple Mountain True Monarch vs. Duke Long. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Swish, swish. Killing intent surged, two figures flew rapidly between dream realms. Purple Mountain True Monarch against Duke Long. They were extremely fast, like meteors in the sky, but they were incredibly agile like snakes. Boom boom boom. As both sides fought, explosions could be heard. Waves of air currents crashed imposingly, but after getting to any dream realm, they dissipated. The two rank 8 Gu immortals fought. One was a first-generation split soul of spectral soul demon venerable, having cultivated for 100,000 years. The other was unknown in history, but was a legend of heavenly court, having quasi-rank 9 power. Undeniably, the fight between these two was the core and essence of this battle of the giant dream realm battle, and was the most intense. Heaven overseeing tower and Zui Hui collided. It was far less important than the fight between those two. Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes flickered with crystal purple light, his arms were stretched out as small rocks resembling charcoal appeared around his body. The rocks flew out and became larger in the air, the surface of the rocks burned with raging red flames. Thousands of fiery rocks charged at Duke Long like a meteorite storm. Duke Long took the attack head-on, not dodging. As the fiery rocks hit his body, he was surrounded by a light resembling a cloud. The cloud light did not move, but soon, Duke Long found that a fire was burning inside his mind. His thoughts were moving, but the fire was burning up these thoughts. The cloud light needed to be maintained by Duke Long, thoughts about it were constantly created. Now that they were burned, this defense was gone. The fiery rocks thus landed harshly on Duke Long's body. At once, there were loud sounds as fiery rocks landed on Duke Long's muscular and tall iron-like body. Like eggs, these fiery rocks broke and shattered, exploding as sparks poured out along with rock fragments. Duke Long continued to charge. His body had a terrifying accumulation of Dao marks. He also had defensive methods similar to Bai Qintian's wood armor and Fang Yuan's ghostly concealment. His aura was shocking, like a wild dragon in human form. He endured Purple Mountain True Monarch's attacks as he moved unceasingly. His dragon eyes were cold and indifferent. Duke Long had no expression except a cold look. He did not frown. Purple Mountain True Monarch's immortal killer move seemed like a gust of wind, harmless and weak. Duke Long had a very powerful disposition. Purple Mountain True Monarch was a wisdom path Gu immortal. He focused on his tactic. He retreated as he fought. The fiery rocks could do nothing to Duke Long, but Purple Mountain True Monarch was smirking. He stretched out his left index finger, pointing at Duke Long who was chasing after him. Immediately, flowers bloomed. On Duke Long's body, countless flowers grew out of nowhere. Fresh flowers blossomed, thousands of them covered Duke Long's body. Duke Long had a strong body with shocking defense, but when the flowers bloomed, his expression finally changed. Consecutive move. For the first time, Duke Long stopped his chase as he floated in the air. Even though he was flying at a rapid speed, he could immediately stop moving. Anyone would sigh at his amazing movement method, and his incredibly strong physique. The flowers were blooming at an increasing rate on Duke Long's body. The petals were tender and fragile, but they were a huge problem to Duke Long. Duke Long stretched out his right hand, he grabbed into a fist and after a while, opened his hand. Poof! With an explosive sound, his right hand burst out with countless faint pale air currents. These air currents were like threads flying in the sky, circulating around Duke Long's entire body continuously. Waves of air currents were like sharp blades, getting rid of the flowers on his body. At once, flower petals floated in the air, as these flowers were eradicated. The air currents seemed weak, but were extremely sharp. After a few breaths of time, the flowers on Duke Long were all wiped out. Purple Mountain True Monarch saw this and his pupils shrunk. Duke Long's killer move was incredibly sharp. it was not about the mass of the air currents, but the technique involved in manipulating them that was extremely profound. Originally, this was a method to deal with enemies, but Duke Long controlled it for use on himself. If he was careless, he would get injured. But Duke Long was proficient and daring, he was extremely confident in this move, he could use it like moving his fingers, many of the air currents grazed his skin and clothing, but he was completely unharmed, he had complete control of his actions, it was truly superb. However, with this amount of time, Purple Mountain True Monarch was ready with his move. Immortal Killer moves had difficulties in activation. If Xiao Lianyun was in Purple Mountain True Monarch's position, she might likely fail her activation of the killer move. But Purple Mountain True Monarch was incredibly experienced and resolute, he used this chance without doubt. An Immortal Killer move was activated. Illusions appeared, surrounding Purple Mountain True Monarch, there were dozens of purple light illusions. These illusions were still increasing, 1 turned into 4 while 4 turned into 10, they formed into a huge army. Purple Mountain True Monarch's true body was concealed as the purple light illusion army charged at Duke Long. Duke Long snorted coldly, his right hand turned into a dragon claw as he waved. Claw marks appeared in the air out of nowhere, they were several meters long, everywhere they went, purple light illusions collapsed. Next, Duke Long's left hand also turned into a dragon claw, he slashed at another area as the marks extended, almost creating wounds in space. The purple light illusions were quickly eradicated, Duke Long's dragon eyes shined as a mystical light surrounded a secluded space. Purple Mountain True Monarch knew that his location was exposed, he came out. Both sides were standing in the air, with the backdrop of countless messy dream realms, they were 1,000 steps apart. It seems that after such a long time of sleeping, you're still able to keep up with the times. Purple Mountain True Monarch said plainly, he was a Wisdom Path Gu immortal, his long robe was fluttering as his purple hair swayed, his gaze was focused and he was in his top condition. I practiced a bit recently. The times are always changing, there were too many geniuses in the last million years, there are simply too many new incredible methods now. Duke Long sighed. He sighed before continuing, alright, enough with these petty tricks, the probing is over, let's use our real methods now. Purple Mountain True Monarch smiled, nodding, indeed. At the next moment, both of them collided like 2 flashes of lightning. Boom boom boom. Dazzling rainbow lights shone like fireworks, when used, the surrounding dream realms became even more illusory and enchanting. These 2 fellows, seriously. Fong Yuan was observing the battlefield with the Super Gu formation. After observing Purple Mountain True Monarchs and Duke Long's fight, Fong Yuan was speechless. Both of them are rank 8 Gu immortals, and not ordinary ones at that, they are simply too strong. Normally speaking, when Gu immortals first fight, they would use Mortal Gu and Mortal Killer moves. Only when they fight seriously will they use Immortal Gu and Immortal Killer moves. But these 2 directly used Immortal Killer moves to probe each other. These 2 have at least Great Grandmaster attainment level. Be it the fiery rocks, flowers, or the air currents and cloud light, they are all mimicry of other paths. If I do not use Reverse Flow Protection Seal, I would lose terribly in one move. So intense. The 2 of them are fighting with greater intensity now, their firepower has increased. Information was very important to Gu immortals. Fong Yuan used the Super Gu formation to observe them, he had huge gains. Be it Purple Mountain True Monarch or Duke Long, Fong Yuan was not their match. Even if he used Reverse Flow Protection Seal, he would only passively take a beating. As a matter of fact, during the Battle of Northern Plains Reverse Flow River, Fong Yuan was able to escape because of the chaotic situation. Eventually, Fong Yuan used the regional wall to escape from Dog-tail Life Extending Ferret Mao Li Chiu. With my own strength, it is hard to escape from such a situation, hope is slim. Fong Yuan's frown deepened. At this moment, his expression changed. It turned out that in his immortal aperture, an information path Gu worm brought words from Wu Yong. Wu Yong did not die, Qiao Ji Kai and Tai Mian Shen are alive too, they are only trapped for the time being. They are trying to get here with an immortal Gu house. Wu Yong told Fang Yuan to hold on to his life, it was fine even if he escaped. He even told Fang Yuan that Qi clan's first supreme elder, Qi Chuyu, was also bringing an immortal Gu house here as backup, but he was still farther away than Wu Yong. Not just the two of them, the other super forces also sent their immortal Gu houses. Southern Border's Righteous Path super clans were in conflict, but after hearing Wu Yong's words about the giant dream realm situation, they immediately went into ceasefire and worked together, gathering and moving towards the giant dream realm. Looking at the entirety of Southern Border from a bird's eye view, Tian Mountain was at the center of Southern Border towards the west, while the super forces were scattered in all directions, all heading towards the center. Fang Yuan had a complex expression. If he was Wu Yihai, upon hearing this, he would be overjoyed and have improved morale. But he was not. He was Fang Yuan. Once Southern Border's reinforcements came, Heavenly Court would expose his identity, chaos would ensue, Fang Yuan would be all alone. As for Wu Yong, Fang Yuan sighed. This brother, his biggest backer, would turn into an extremely strong enemy chasing after him in the future. Fang Yuan killed the real Wu Yihai, even if Wu Yong did not care about his brother and did not want revenge, because of his righteous path status, he needed to take revenge and kill Fang Yuan. One could say, Fang Yuan and Wu Yong had an unresolvable conflict. Wu clan actually had another immortal Gu house. Wu Yong was really good at concealing himself. But even though he is very fast, as the closest reinforcement around, he still needs at least a day to get here. Fang Yuan rapidly calculated. When the reinforcements arrived and Heavenly Court exposed Fang Yuan's identity, would he be able to escape amidst the chaos? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know in the report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1362, for now. Cooperate. Chapter 1362, for now. Cooperate. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Hope was slim. It was a chaotic three-way battle now. Heavenly Court's forces were number 1. Shadow Sect was number 2 because of their rank 8 battle strengths, Purple Mountain True Monarch and Zui Hui. Southern Border's Righteous Path forces were 3rd, even with the Super Gu formation, it was stationary and even Fairy Z-Wei's star constellation chessboard could infiltrate it. As for Fang Yuan, he was a Southern Border Righteous Path member on the surface, but the truth was, he was closer to Shadow Sect's side, he was a unique person. Based on the battle situation, Heavenly Court and Southern Border's Righteous Path were attacking Shadow Sect. Shadow Sect was unable to rival Heavenly Court, now that they were attacked by another side, they were in the worst position. One day, it takes at least one day to get here. In this current situation, if the situation continues like this, I cannot hold on until then. Moreover, once Shadow Sect falls, Heavenly Court and Southern Border's Righteous Path would deal with me, the traitor, together. Shadow Sect's loss is just one aspect, this Super Gu formation is also unable to hold on for a day. Fang Yuan retracted his gaze, he looked at this Super Gu formation worriedly. Because of Qi Chuyu's design, this Super Gu formation's second layer could only be controlled by one person, others were useless. Thus, even if Fang Yuan intended to recall the Southern Border Righteous Path Gu Immortals, they were unable to resist Fairy Z-Wei's invasion. Moreover, Fang Yuan's identity was a problem. If these Southern Border Gu Immortals learned about Fang Yuan's true identity from Heavenly Court, regardless of whether they believed it or not, or whatever action they take, it meant there would be unknown danger for Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan had naturally thought of the first layer of the Gu formation. This Super Gu formation had 4 layers, Fang Yuan was only controlling the second layer, there was still a first layer. If Fairy Z-Wei succeeded, Fang Yuan would destroy the second layer of the Gu formation, in theory, he could activate the first layer and resist her. But, according to Qi Gui's information path Gu Worm, the user of this first layer must be a Qi clan Gu immortal. This was Qi Chu Yu's personal arrangement. From his perspective, he naturally placed his clan's benefits first. The first layer of the Gu formation had many ways to detect identities. Fang Yuan could disguise himself if it was bloodline. But unfortunately for him, one of the methods was about Life Tablet Gu and Soul Lantern Gu. Fang Yuan did not leave any Life Tablet Gu or Soul Lantern Gu in Qi clan. Regarding this, Fang Yuan could only sigh. He cursed helplessly in his mind, Qi Chu Yu, this old dog. A rank 8 Gu immortal, how could he be simple? When Qi Chu Yu designed it, he naturally did not think of this complex situation. But now, it was Fang Yuan's greatest restriction. It was like a dead end. Fang Yuan was getting closer and closer to it. But Qi Chu Yu's move was undoubtedly the best one he could have made. It was a huge assurance to Qi clan. Fang Yuan had to ensure that Qi clan's Gu immortals did not die out completely, especially Qi Gui. If anything dangerous happened, he needed to teleport him back using the Super Gu formation. With Qi Gui, there would be the first layer of the Gu formation. As for what attitude Qi Gui would have and how he would treat Fang Yuan, it was a mystery. Unless he was completely helpless, Fang Yuan would not make use of Qi Gui. The situation was complex. 3 sides were fighting. Fang Yuan had a special status. Even though he was in the southern border righteous path camp, it was not reliable. There were too many variables now. He was using wisdom path methods too. Fang Yuan's mind was full of churning thoughts. His brain was going to emit smoke at this rate. How could he escape? This was an unsolved problem. Spring-autumn cicada. A thought appeared in Fang Yuan's mind before he denied the possibility. He could not use spring-autumn cicada no matter what. Heaven's will was inside it. The risk of failure was nearly certain. A few times, Fang Yuan was able to rebirth successfully because of the secret help of Heaven's will. But now, he was standing on the opposite side. Heaven's will wanted to eradicate him. Using spring-autumn cicada to rebirth in this situation was simply deluding himself. The Heaven's will in spring-autumn cicada would directly kill him. Using spring-autumn cicada was suicide. Unless he used shadow sex method to reverse refine it. But now, how could Fang Yuan find time for that? Wait, no. I can use time path methods to accelerate the time of my immortal aperture. This way, I can give up the Super Gu formation and hide inside my immortal aperture, to refine spring-autumn cicada. No, this won't do. There are calamities and tribulations. If I accelerate the immortal aperture's time, calamities and tribulations will descend. Heaven's will would control them and make it much more difficult. And my time path attainment level is too low. I have no guarantee in this, to successfully purify spring-autumn cicada under such restrictions. And this method requires me to give up the Super Gu formation. It is simply an idiotic way of crippling myself. This would not do. Fate was too vicious, as if there was no way to survive. But Fang Yuan did not give up. He continued to persevere. His determination did not waver, even though his pressure was intense, even though Fairy Zi Wei had not stopped her invasion of the Super Gu formation. Persevere. Fang Yuan's eyes shined with vigor. He was not afraid, he was very calm in his mind. This was not his first desperate situation. In fact, he had many such encounters. In this world, cultivating and fighting for one's life, no matter what choices one made, there were risks involved. Once one started moving up, like climbing a mountain, how could there be gains and growth without any risks? Even the powerful old ancestor Xuehu, the #1 battle strength in northern plains, publicly, had taken a risk, causing Snowy Mountain, hundreds of years of his hard work, to be destroyed. His plan of refining fortune rivaling heaven completely failed. Reverse Flow River was taken away, and even his wife, Lady Wanshou, was injured. Or look at Heavenly Court's Gu Immortals, by Chen Tian and Wei Ling Yang, these rank 8 great experts, they were such high and mighty existences. But in the end, they died in another region, even their ruined corpses were lost, unable to return home. And Sword Immortal Bo Qin, as well as Feng Jiugu, who died from attacking Langya blessed land back in the 500 years of Fang Yuan's previous life. Fang Yuan was not Ma Hongyun, he was not the child of luck, compared to everyone above, he was extremely ordinary. In fact, Ma Hongyun died too, even with fortune rivaling heaven's protection. Heaven and earth were impartial, treating all beings as pawns. No matter how talented one was, or how extraordinary the Gu immortal was, in this world, they were just a life form, ordinary and simple, they were all treated equally. His 500 years of experience, compared to heaven and earth, what could it amount to? His experience and deep schemes were just the result of having experienced the callous nature of this world, and having understood the ways of human minds. Humans had limits, who had never made a mistake. Even rank 9 venerables were no exception, even Ren Zhu was deceived by wisdom Gu. Conversely, heaven's will was vast, it controlled the situation, the power of heaven and earth was limitless. Defying heaven as a human, how hard was that? Such feelings were not just in Fang Yuan's heart. Wu Xie felt very similarly. He was fighting. His enemy was a rank 7 righteous path Gu immortal. At this moment, the rank 6 immortal zombie Wu Xie had the disadvantage. Even though he had incredible immortal killer moves, his opponent was so strong, Wu Xie was just barely able to stay on par with him. After an intense chaotic battle, Wu Xie was left to fight alone. The situation was dangerous. Soul Beast Summoning. Wu Xie unleashed his immortal killer move, 3 ancient soul beasts surrounded his body again. But his enemy, a Xia clan rank 7 Gu immortal, laughed mockingly. Not long ago, when he first faced the soul beast summoning killer move, he was flustered. But now, after gaining experience, the Xia clan Gu immortal found a way to counter the ancient soul beasts. Using the dream realms. Ancient soul beasts had low intelligence, with just some schemes, the Xia clan Gu immortal was able to lure these soul beasts towards dream realms. Once the soul entered the dream realm, they were meat on the chopping block. Soul beasts were souls that became solid bodies. Making full use of the battlefield was part of the qualities that made up a Gu immortal's battle strength. Soon, the ancient soul beasts that Wu Xie painstakingly summoned were dealt with by the Xia clan Gu immortal. Wu Xie smiled bitterly on the inside, he could not get free, he had to rely on external help now. But at this moment, his expression froze, he received Sixth Hair's letter, Fang Yuan wanted to cooperate with Shadow Sect. Ever since Purple Mountain True Monarch awakened and took over control, he had contacted Fang Yuan, asking to work together. Unfortunately, Fang Yuan had been wary of Shadow Sect's information path methods, even though they had their respective needs, they did not make any progress in cooperation. Wu Xie did not expect that Fang Yuan would seek cooperation with Shadow Sect now. It's too late. The bitterness in Wu Xie's heart intensified. Too late. It was too late. He did not know where Fang Yuan was, but Shadow Sect had already started the mission to save the main body. Sixth Hair transmitted that Fang Yuan needed an information path Gu worm to communicate with Wu Xie. Fang Yuan could not interact with Shadow Sect directly, they needed Sixth Hair as the middleman. This was because communication information path Gu came in pairs. This way, clues to each other's whereabouts were left behind. It was easy to deduce their locations from this. Give it to him. Wu Xie thought and did not reject it. Next, Fang Yuan's voice resounded in Wu Xie's mind, you are in a sorry state, Wu Xie, the Xia clan immortal is about to kill you. What about lead soul into dream? Aren't you using it? Wu Xie heard these words and his eyes widened, he was extremely shocked. Fang Yuan. He transmitted, you are here in this battlefield. What do you think? Fang Yuan chuckled, stop using soul beast summoning randomly, you have already used it 3 times, the effect is getting worse, you are only increasing the risk and wasting your immortal essence. Wu Xie shook, Fang Yuan, you are here indeed. Damn it, you actually made your way in, since when? Wait, is my opponent you? If that was me, you would be dead already. Enough idle chatter, let's. Fong Yuan paused, cooperate. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1363, Biggest Traitor in Southern Border's Righteous Path. Chapter 1363, Biggest Traitor in Southern Border's Righteous Path. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Cooperation. Hearing Fong Yuan's suggestion, a complex expression appeared on Ing Wu Xie's face uncontrollably. Fong Yuan's and Shadow Sect's relationship was very intertwined and complex. As a half-otherworldly demon, Fong Yuan was once Heaven's Will's tool, sent back to destroy Shadow Sect's plan in a last-ditch attempt. Fong Yuan, who successfully obtained the Sovereign Immortal Aperture, was enemies with Shadow Sect. They were at a complete conflict. During the Battle of Tian Mountain, Shadow Sect lost entirely. They wanted to tear Fong Yuan to pieces. But Fong Yuan made good use of his time, and the advantage of the sovereign immortal body to get stronger. He started to hunt Ing Wu Xie and gang. If Ing Wu Xie and the others did not have a good grasp of time or excellent methods to escape, they would have died at Fong Yuan's hands already. After the Battle of Reverse Flow River, Fong Yuan was already able to match rank 8 Gu immortals. Shadow Sect was now led by Purple Mountain True Monarch. They changed their tactics, seeking cooperation with Fong Yuan. This was a crucial turning point in their relationship. Precisely because of this, at this moment, when Fong Yuan initiated the cooperation, Ing Wu Xie nodded, replying, "Then let's work together." Ing Wu Xie was not against working together. Or rather, he was once against and hated the idea when Purple Mountain True Monarch mentioned it. He did not understand why. But people change. If this was during the Battle of Tian Mountain, Ing Wu Xie was new to life. He knew nothing. He would not consider working with his enemy. When Shadow Sect was strong, Fong Yuan was weak as an ant. Ing Wu Xie would never work with Fong Yuan. After losing in Tian Mountain, Ing Wu Xie hated Fong Yuan. There was no way for them to cooperate. Ing Wu Xie only wanted to regain Shadow Sect's former glory. But as Fong Yuan grew stronger and went after Ing Wu Xie multiple times, Ing Wu Xie started to feel deep wariness in his heart. Recently, when Fong Yuan chased them to northern plains, other than wariness, Ing Wu Xie also felt fear towards Fong Yuan. After the Battle of Reverse Flow River, Ing Wu Xie developed a new emotion towards Fong Yuan. That was admiration. Fong Yuan did what Ing Wu Xie was unable to do. He was truly worthy of being chosen by Heaven's will to return to the past and disrupt Shadow Sect's plans. It is not that I am not strong, but that my enemy is Fong Yuan. Ing Wu Xie had such a thought and realized that his losses were not that unacceptable. How are we going to cooperate? I can't hang on anymore. Ing Wu Xie said directly. Fong Yuan frowned. Ing Wu Xie had a very direct attitude. Fong Yuan was slightly surprised. Of course I will help you people first. Heavenly Court is too strong. There is only hope if we work together. Fong Yuan sighed, transmitting to the Xia clan Gu immortal who was fighting Ing Wu Xie. Retreat? Why must I retreat? I already know about my enemy's weaknesses. I can win this. The Xia clan Gu immortal was very confused. A Yao clan Gu immortal is in great danger. You need to help him. Quickly go. I am overseeing the entire battlefield. How can you understand the big picture like me? Fong Yuan said without politeness. The Xia clan Gu immortal was very unhappy, but because of Wu Yihai's status, and the fact that he was in control of the Super Gu formation, he snorted in his mind before leaving. How are you going to help me? Quickly do something. Ing Wu Xie urged, but suddenly, his eyes widened as he looked at his opponent in shock. He retreated while having a discontent gaze at Ing Wu Xie, rapidly flying away. Stop making a fuss, I already helped you. Fong Yuan said at an appropriate timing. Ing Wu Xie's heart shook, asking, didn't you say that was not you? Is he one of your subordinates? Enough pointless chatter. Tell me, what is Shadow Sect's plan? Don't tell me you have no backup plans. Fong Yuan immediately asked. Ing Wu Xie smiled bitterly, replying, of course we do, our backup is me. Rumble. An intense explosion occurred. From the raging air currents, Purple Mountain True Monarch flew out of the endless profound lights as he charged down. Why are you escaping? Fight me. Behind him, Duke Long chased. His long hair was fluttering, his muscular body had changed. Not only were his dragon horns sharper and longer now, his hands had turned into dragon claws, his dragon tail was waving behind him, his skin was covered with a layer of dragon scales. Purple Mountain True Monarch looked pathetic, but his gaze was clear like water. Duke Long, history states that he cultivated Chi Path primarily, but because of his lacking lifespan, he also cultivated Transformation Path. Purple Mountain True Monarch analyzed in his mind. Just his Transformation Path methods are already so powerful, as expected of someone on par with Bo Qing. Let him try this move. Thinking of this, Purple Mountain True Monarch's body shook, he turned around agilely, flying upwards. At the same time, his 10 fingers fluttered like he was playing a zither. Swish swish swish. An endless stream of purple starlight specks shot out of his fingers, piercing through space and attacking Duke Long. These starlight specks were extremely dazzling. Not only were they fast, they flew in the air with a trail of light behind them. It was extremely beautiful. Duke Long grunted, he felt that these purple starlight specks were not simple. He quickly used his attacking methods against them. But these purple starlight specks were very agile, they quickly dodged Duke Long's attacks as they aimed directly at him. Duke Long saw this and praised in his mind, as expected of a wisdom path cultivator, his immortal killer moves are agile and nimble, especially this move, it is extremely refined. I cannot compare to him in this aspect. Wisdom Path Gu immortals had endless thoughts, they were most skilled in controlling immortal killer moves, and creating attacks of varying styles. Why must I get bogged down? It is wiser to make use of my advantages. Duke Long ignored these purple starlight specks, using his powerful defense to take on the starlight specks and charging ahead fearlessly. Seeing this, mysterious light shined in Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes. He finally fell into my trap. It turned out that his move had a hidden effect. Upon contact with any immortal killer move, it would transmit some fragmented information to Purple Mountain True Monarch. Countless fragmented pieces of information would combine and expose the secrets of the immortal killer move. With enough information, Purple Mountain True Monarch would be able to target Duke Long's defensive method and retaliate against it. Duke Long's offensive approach after confirming the power of the purple starlight specks suited Purple Mountain True Monarch's tactic. Purple Mountain True Monarch had always been feeling troubled by Duke Long's defense. After getting enough information, Purple Mountain True Monarch used a new immortal killer move. He pushed with both palms as large amounts of cloud mist appeared, blocking Duke Long from advancing. Duke Long's dragon eyes flickered with sharp light. After looking at it, he instantly saw the power of this immortal killer move. He laughed heartily as he charged into the purple mist. Instantly, he lost his sense of direction entirely. Duke Long immediately stopped, staying motionless as he opened his mouth, emitting a loud dragon roar. The dragon roar reverberated in the entire area, the purple mist became thinner until it faded away. Duke Long saw Purple Mountain True Monarch again, he was still retreating, attempting to pull away from Duke Long. Duke Long laughed, his figure vanished and appeared before Purple Mountain True Monarch instantly. Eat my fist. Duke Long shouted loudly, striking with his right fist directly. This was not an immortal killer move. In such a short time, Duke Long had to maintain his concentration on his various defensive killer moves, he did not activate any other immortal killer moves. But with his physical toughness, his normal fist had incredible offensive power. Bam! Purple Mountain True Monarch could not dodge in time, he was directly hit by Duke Long's fist. But his chest that was punched flickered with profound light, his body was basically unharmed. Purple Mountain True Monarch had incredible defensive methods too. Purple Mountain True Monarch was uninjured from Duke Long's punch, he even used the force of the fist to accelerate his retreat backwards. But at the next moment, Duke Long appeared beside Purple Mountain True Monarch again, punching. Bam! The same scene appeared again, but Duke Long chased relentlessly. No matter where Purple Mountain True Monarch flew to, he could instantly teleport over and punch with his fists. Duke Long's punches rained down endlessly, countless fist shadows enshrouded Purple Mountain True Monarch. Purple Mountain True Monarch was like a rubber ball, thrown around by Duke Long constantly. He was taking a beating without being able to retaliate. Purple Mountain True Monarch was flickering with profound light, defending against Duke Long's fists. Soon, Duke Long's punches were no longer so simple. Chaotic Dragon Fist. An immortal killer move was activated. But the effect was low. Duke Long thought, my Chaotic Dragon Fist will cause the thoughts in my enemy's mind to become chaotic if it hits. With a flurry of punches, my opponents will not be able to think, they will only take hits passively. But this effect does not appear on him at all. At Duke Long's level, he can already achieve the traits of other paths. Duke Long's Transformation Path killer move had Wisdom Path effects. But when it was used on a Wisdom Path Gu immortal, Purple Mountain True Monarch, it was simply child's play. Duke Long could punch his other enemies with death with Chaotic Dragon Fist, but against Purple Mountain True Monarch, he only had the upper hand. While Duke Long was probing Purple Mountain True Monarch's Wisdom Path attainment, Purple Mountain True Monarch was also analyzing Duke Long. Even though he was taking hits, he was calm in his mind, with no hint of panic. Wisdom Path had three aspects: thoughts, wills, and emotions. Purple Mountain True Monarch had methods to eliminate his negative emotions in battle. Duke Long's movement is evidently an immortal killer move, allowing him to teleport continuously. Inside his dragon eyes, there is another immortal killer move with powerful investigative effects. With my initial deduction, his teleportation does not depend on where he looks. Don't tell me. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1364, Duke Long Enters Dream. Chapter 1364, Duke Long Enters Dream. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. At the next moment, Purple Mountain True Monarch snapped his fingers. An immortal killer move was used. Purple halo spread to the range of thousands of steps. Duke Long's figure came to a stop. He could no longer use teleportation to get close to Purple Mountain True Monarch. He saw through it, that reaction speed is really fast. Wisdom Path Gu immortals are as troublesome as always. Duke Long stopped his attacks, sighing. His movement killer move was used with the Dragon Roar earlier. Wherever the Dragon Roar reached, he could teleport over using the killer move. But there was a time limit. Purple Mountain True Monarch saw through this and used his Wisdom Path methods to mimic the effect of Sound Path, cleansing his surroundings. Duke Long's movement method could no longer be used, it was ineffective. In that case, try this move. Duke Long opened his mouth in the air. Two teeth fell out, they grew larger with the moving wind. In an instant, his two teeth became snow-white dragon fangs that resembled curved blades. Duke Long breathed in deeply and after a few breaths of time, used his immortal killer move. Spiraling Dragon Fawn. Two snow-white dragon fangs shot out rapidly, the speed far surpassed Purple Mountain True Monarch, rapidly approaching him. The two curved dragon fang blades spiraled around Purple Mountain True Monarch. Each time they hit, there was a dazzling sharp light on Purple Mountain True Monarch's body. Trying to use this method to restrain me? Dragon fangs, they are solid, this is different from normal killer moves. Purple Mountain True Monarch felt his pressure intensifying. The power of the dragon fangs was no small matter. Purple Mountain True Monarch quickly realized that he had to deal with this immortal killer move. Lord Purple has already used his personal methods, but he is still suppressed by Duke Long. Ing Wu Xie flew as he observed Purple Mountain True Monarch's and Duke Long's battle. He had a good angle of the battle. In this complex battlefield, he could actually watch the battle of two rank 8 Gu immortals. At the moment, the two were still probing. Evidently, Duke Long was stronger than Purple Mountain True Monarch. In terms of battle strength, Duke Long was on par with Bo Qing. Purple Mountain True Monarch was naturally weaker. Even though the latter actually had peak rank 8 battle strength. Lord Purple's strength will continue to weaken, because he is constantly using the Immortal Killer move to create more defective pure dream reality seeker physique bodies and clear the dream realm. During this process, he would need to split his own soul. It is extremely painful. Xianxia watched with worry. Purple Mountain True Monarch was not Duke Long's match to begin with, but he still had to create pure dream reality seeker physique bodies now. By the time Purple Mountain True Monarch's methods were fully understood by Duke Long, he would lose. Quick, quick, quick. Xianxia urged himself. He would not tell this to Fang Yuan, of course. Even though they were working together, they did not set any information path agreements. Xianxia did not trust Fang Yuan fully. But if they wanted to set an agreement, the situation did not allow them to, and even if they could, Fang Yuan would not do it. Both sides wanted to cooperate, but they did not trust each other. But because of the enemy, Heavenly Court, they had to work together. Found it, towards your southeast, there is a cocoon of light about to form, get there quickly. At this time, Fang Yuan transmitted. Xianxia looked in that direction and felt hesitant. If he followed Fang Yuan's instructions, he had to get deep into the territory of Southern Border's righteous path. There were many Southern Border righteous path Gu immortals there. Was Fang Yuan reliable? Was this a trap? Xianxia could not help but hesitate. If I wanted to harm you, you would have died earlier. Fang Yuan transmitted, as if he knew what Xianxia was thinking. Xianxia had to admit that Fang Yuan was right, but he thought, maybe Fang Yuan doesn't want me dead, and wants to capture me alive. If he wants to capture me, he would need to make arrangements. Is there a Gu formation or a battlefield killer move there? But this time, Xianxia shook his head, no longer hesitating. He wanted to gamble. At this moment, he had to gamble. Following Fang Yuan's instructions, he flew. Soon, he saw a Southern Border righteous path Gu immortal. Damn it! Xianxia's heart jumped. The Southern Border righteous path Gu immortal also found him. But when he was about to pounce on Xianxia, his face changed. After hesitating, he flew away with a complex expression. Why did that happen? Xianxia was shocked. This was the second time. Was he also Fang Yuan's subordinate? If so, why did he have that expression? He strangely looked unwilling and slightly angry. Xianxia was getting more confused. He continued to move forward and met with the third person, and then a fourth. The 2 Southern Border righteous path Gu immortals he met also left him alone. This was naturally Fang Yuan's manipulation. Using the excuse of the big picture, he sent all those Southern Border righteous path Gu immortals away with simple reasons. For example, that place needs you more, an ally is in danger, if you do not go, they will die, and, ignore that rank 6 immortal zombie, I have sent others to deal with him ahead. All sorts of reasons allowed Xianxia to move unhindered. Nobody would expect Wu Yi to work with Shadow Sect. Among the righteous path Gu immortals in Southern Border, who would think of that? At this time, Heavenly Court had not yet exposed Fang Yuan's true identity. With Fang Yuan's help, Xianxia got closer to his destination. There is actually a cocoon of light here. Rank 7 expert Hei Ting had a sudden discovery. His body flickered with lightning, bringing his body towards the cocoon. Stop it! Xianxia, who had just arrived, suddenly shouted out loud. Hei Ting felt strange. Who is this? He actually made it here. Xianxia's yell did not disrupt him. He was already very close to the light cocoon. He was about to succeed. But at the next moment, Hei Ting's vision changed. He was forcefully teleported by the Super Gu formation. Lord Wu Yi. I was about to. Hei Ting realized this and suddenly bellowed. He was truly a hindrance rather than help. He was clearly about to succeed. I know, but another place needs you more. Don't worry, I have already noticed the enemy by the cocoon, I will deal with it. Fang Yuan interrupted Yi Hei-ting's words. Yi Hei-ting wanted to say more, but his vision changed, he was teleported out again to another place. This Wu Yi-hai, he thinks he can use me as a pawn because he controls the Gu formation. Humph. Yi Hei-ting was extremely unhappy, but he did not suspect Fang Yuan's true intentions. Fang Yuan did not randomly teleport him, because around him, there was a southern border Gu immortal about to die from Fairy Miao Yin. Yi Hei-ting quickly entered the battle, forgetting about the displeasure towards Fang Yuan. Wu Xie felt like he was in a dream. Seeing that Yi Hei-ting was about to succeed, he almost despaired. But at the next moment, he went from hell to heaven, this change was too sudden, he was overjoyed. Wu Xie was a little dazed. But when he came to his senses, he contacted Fang Yuan with his information path Gu worm, crying out, you actually control the entire Super Gu formation. What is your current identity? Fang Yuan knew this could not be concealed, he exposed it, who else? I am currently Wu Yi-hai. Wu Xie heard this, his eyes almost popped out. This answer was too stunning, since when and what methods did Fang Yuan use to get to this position? After accepting this fact, Wu Xie understood everything. No wonder those southern border righteous path Gu immortals gave way to him, Wu Xie thought that their expressions were rather funny now. But soon, he felt some worry. Fang Yuan has unraveled dream, staying here for so long without any detection, he definitely has a huge scheme. He definitely made great gains. So close. If not for Lord Purple's plan to catch the righteous path off guard, Fang Yuan might have been able to continue staying here for a long time, it would be a huge problem for Shadow Sect. Wu Xie's emotions were changing, from shock to realization and to worry, he finally reached the cocoon of light. This aura. A rank 7 cocoon. Wu Xie was excited. How can I choose wrongly? What are you waiting for? Fang Yuan laughed. Wu Xie nodded, using his immortal killer move. This killer move took effect rapidly, in an instant, the cocoon that had not formed yet stabilized completely and took shape. Wu Xie's soul and Gu worms entered the cocoon of light. Meanwhile, his rank 6 immortal zombie body was abandoned. The cocoon of light broke apart as a rank 7 Wu Xie appeared. Don't resist, I will send you off. Fang Yuan's voice entered Wu Xie's mind again. At the next moment, Wu Xie was teleported away, watching Duke Long and Purple Mountain True Monarchs battle again. Without hesitation, Wu Xie used his trump card. Immortal killer move, lead soul into dream. Ugh. Duke Long's expression changed, in an instant, he was dragged into a dream. At the next moment, he lost contact with the outside world. Purple Mountain True Monarch was stunned, what is going on? A scheme? But next, he received Wu Xie's transmission, I am here, Lord Purple, I am a rank 7 Dream Path Gu immortal now. Good. Purple Mountain True Monarch was overjoyed, this trump card was finally activated. After some hurdles, I obtained this immortal body due to Fang Yuan's help. He is currently acting as Wu Yi-hai, he is controlling the Super Gu formation of Southern Border's righteous path, he wants to cooperate with you. Oh. Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes shined brightly, excellent, send my information path Gu worm to him, we need to talk. With Fang Yuan and Shadow Sect starting their cooperation, the situation finally appeared to be turning around. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1365, Star Constellation Heavens Will Appears. Chapter 1365, Star Constellation Heavens Will Appears. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Duke Long entered a dream. Wu Xie had a rank 7 immortal body, he burst out with great strength, changing the battle situation between two rank 8 Gu immortals. Duke Long fell into a dream realm and could not escape. Purple Mountain True Monarch used this great chance to retaliate. Rumble. Explosions continued unceasingly, but countless dragon shadows appeared on Duke Long's body. There were also countless dragon-shaped tattoos moving around his skin. Such an amazing defensive killer move. Purple Mountain True Monarch could not do anything to Duke Long for the time being. Similar to Purple Mountain True Monarch, Duke Long had a lot of defensive methods, among them were incredibly useful killer moves. These killer moves were like the wood armor that Bai Qin Tian was so proud of. This type of killer move turned into Dao marks and became engraved on the Gu immortal's body. They were normally dormant, but when attacked, they would activate themselves and would not need any thoughts for manipulation, only using immortal essence. This was somewhat like Fang Yuan's ghostly concealment. Ghostly concealment was a top-tier killer move created by thieving heaven demon Venerable. But this move was much more refined than Bai Qin Tian's wood armor, or Duke Long's and Purple Mountain True Monarch's defensive methods. Because ghostly concealment not only melded with oneself and had an active effect all the time, most importantly, it did not cost any of the Gu Immortal's immortal essence. A killer move that was active permanently without using any immortal essence. This was a supreme method of thieving heaven demon Venerable. From the perspective of Central Continent's 10 great sects and Fang Yuan, it was unthinkable, they had no way of understanding such a mystical method. Swish swish. 2 white lights were spiraling and landing on Purple Mountain True Monarch's body. It was the spiraling dragon Fang killer move that Duke Long had used earlier. After the 2 flashes of light burst out, the 2 dragon fangs met with no success, but they still circled around Purple Mountain True Monarch, ready for an opportunity. This killer move also needs no manipulation from the Gu Immortal. Troublesome. Purple Mountain True Monarch frowned slightly. But thankfully, I have been keeping Purple Thought Perception Starlight activated. Purple Mountain True Monarch let out a loud shout as countless starlight specks emerged from the pores of his body. Starlight specks flew around Duke Long, they gathered, shooting at Duke Long's layers of defense and being broken continuously. But soon, all sorts of information was transmitted into Purple Mountain True Monarch's mind. Quickly kill him. Wu Xia observed the battle from afar, calling out in his mind. In the Super Gu formation, Fang Yuan was also watching Purple Mountain True Monarch's battle closely. Truly unrepentant. Fallen demon, you are beyond saving. Fairy Zi Wei's voice could be heard from the Super Gu formation again. Fang Yuan had helped Wu Xia and indirectly caused Duke Long to enter his dream. Fairy Zi Wei saw all of these. However, if you think Lord Duke Long will fail because of this, you are completely wrong. Saying this, Fairy Zi Wei actually laughed. I need to thank you, the many times you used the Super Gu formation allowed me to see many of the operations of the Super Gu formation. Haven't you noticed that you are gradually losing control of this Super Gu formation? Your invasion speed is getting faster, but there is no need to try and bluff me. Fang Yuan sneered. Fairy Zi Wei was dazed. Even though you people came here imposingly, your true battle strength is only at this level. Fang Yuan's eyes shined brightly. The truth is, as long as another rank 8 Gu immortal like you shows up, you would be able to sweep the battlefield. Unfortunately, Heaven Overseeing Tower did not send anyone else. Instead, you had to come here secretly to invade the Super Gu formation, and Duke Long had to go battle personally. Even though you know my true identity, you have not exposed me, my identity is still a secret. Other than having no evidence, your intention is to use the strength of Southern Border's righteous path to deal with Shadow Sect, right? And also, there is another reason, even if you expose my identity and convince Southern Border's righteous path, this Super Gu formation will still be in my control. This crucial point will not change because of my identity. You came to the Super Gu formation in order to get this huge bargaining chip too. All these show that your heavenly court is putting up a false front, your rank 8 battle strength is lacking. Fairy Zi Wei went silent. She recalled the scene a few days ago. Back then, she was researching Star Constellation chessboard. This immortal Gu house had always been in Heavenly Court's treasury. After Duke Long woke up, he had the authority to take it out and let Fairy Zi Wei use it. After interacting with and using it, Fairy Zi Wei felt the supreme brilliance of this immortal Gu house. This Immortal Gu house was indeed the Wisdom Path Immortal Gu house created by Lady Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. It could actually allow my deduction ability to rise by many times. Thinking of Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, Fairy Zi Wei had a look of admiration. Her Wisdom Path deduction ability was originally amazing. Now that it grew by several times, Fairy Zi Wei felt as if this was an illusion of her being the #1 Wisdom Path Immortal in the current world. It is a pity that even though my deductions are more powerful now, I still need crucial information. The clues are too few, it is hard to make deductions. Fairy Zi Wei had a dim gaze. She thought about earlier, when Central Continent's Gu immortals were pursued by old ancestor Xuehu and Longevity Heaven, they managed to conceal the clues and prevent Fairy Zi Wei from deducing the location of where the Central Continent Gu immortals were trapped. The reinforcements thus had no place to go and could not be sent. She also thought about Fang Yuan. All along, Heavenly Court had been trying to kill this person. But they lacked the clues to him. When deducing, because Fang Yuan had preventive measures, he could always hold out and get informed of the deductions. Thus, Fang Yuan's whereabouts were not in Heavenly Court's grasp. Fairy Zi Wei sighed eerily. But right at this moment, the star constellation chessboard in her hand started to absorb her immortal essence and activated on its own. A lump of heavens will gushed out of star constellation chessboard, floating in the air and turning into star constellation Immortal Venerable's appearance. Seeing this, Fairy Zi Wei was extremely shocked. Star constellation chessboard was the possession of star constellation Immortal Venerable, but she had died long ago. Fairy Zi Wei was able to control this Immortal Gu house now, she was merely borrowing it. Zi Wei, this is star constellation Immortal Venerable, why are you not paying respects? Duke Long arrived and stood behind Fairy Zi Wei. But this is Heaven's will. Fairy Zi Wei was a Wisdom Path Gu immortal, she could naturally tell what this will was. Of course this is Heaven's will. You are too young, you do not know this secret. Lady Star Constellation Immortal Venerable had assimilated with Heaven's will long ago. Even though her body is gone, her will resides in the world of the 5 regions, she is one with heaven and earth. Duke Long exposed some truly terrifying secrets. Fairy Zi Wei was in a daze, feeling unparalleled shock. This means Star Constellation Immortal Venerable achieved eternal life. If Heaven's will is Lady Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, then wouldn't the entire world be on Heavenly Court's side? But Duke Long shook his head, you should say, Heavenly Court is on the side of Heaven's will. After assimilating with Heaven's will, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable is no longer herself. This was a major and selfless sacrifice. Back then, for the sake of humanity, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable sacrificed herself to modify Heaven's will. Since then, Heaven's will gain the form of Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, but it is still Heaven's will in essence. Fairy Zi Wei's gaze flickered, she was a Wisdom Path Gu immortal, she immediately understood. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable had sacrificed herself for the entire human race, she assimilated with Heaven's will. The core of Heaven's will did not change, but some things were modified by Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. For example, the form that it took, and maybe, a hint of human-like concern towards Heavenly Court. This was perhaps the reason why Heavenly Court followed and executed the will of Heaven, and after countless eons, it was still standing strong. The great era is coming, the 5 regions will become one, destiny has already reached a crucial point. Star Constellation Heavens will spoke while stretching out her right hand. On her right hand, a lump of heavens will flew out and floated in the air, turning into the form of Southern Border's Super Gu formation. Here. A crucial battle is about to unfold, the result of this battle will affect the entire world. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable is extremely weak, all of Shadow Sect will be gathered here, Fang Yuan is disguised as Wu Yi Hai, mixing in with Southern Border's righteous path. These are a bunch of fate-defying people, the source of all chaos and turmoil. Eliminating them will help towards the repairing of Fate Immortal Gu. However, Heavenly Court will only allow the 2 of you to fight this time. Star Constellation Heavens will said plainly. Why? Fairy Zi Wei did not understand. Heavenly Court had very deep foundations, earlier in the Battle of Tian Mountain, they had found out too late, and the awakened Heavenly Court rank 8 Gu immortals were not enough to turn the situation around. But now that they had the reminder of star constellation Heaven's will, time was ample. Heavenly Court had lots of time to prepare. Heavenly Court could totally gather its power and crush the enemies. But star constellation Heavens will told Fairy Ziwei and Duke Long that only the two of them could go. This is something fated to happen. After the Battle of Tian Mountain, the uncertainties of luck have greatly decreased. Now that Fate Immortal Gu is recovering, Fate is regaining control of the world. You will undoubtedly win this time. Do not bother the hibernating Gu immortals in Heavenly Court, they serve a greater purpose. Heavenly Court's foundation cannot be weakened further, otherwise, the consequences will be severe. Bring Heaven Overseeing Tower and Star Constellation Chessboard. The Gu immortals of Central Continent's 10 great sects should not be mobilized unnecessarily. Keep in mind to preserve their lives. In the next 10 years, Heaven Overseeing Tower will need even more rank 8 Gu immortals to hibernate. Remember this. Star Constellation Heavens will give them many instructions. Fairy Ziwei obtained a lot of information, but she became much more confused now. She found out that even though she was a member of Heavenly Court, she, in fact, knew too little about it. Such a huge organization had deep foundations, but it could not use them recklessly like she had imagined before. Heavenly Court's Gu immortals were hibernating. Other than to extend their lifespan, there seemed to be an even greater purpose. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1366, Duke Long Awakens. Chapter 1366, Duke Long Awakens. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Heavenly Court had its concerns, but what these concerns were, Star Constellation Heavens will did not state clearly. After saying everything, Star Constellation Heavens will vanished into thin air. Oh Ziwei, don't look at me. Even though I have lived longer, I do not know as many secrets as you think I do. I'll tell you the truth, this is only the second time I've seen Star Constellation Heavens will appear on its own. Duke Long sighed deeply. After pausing for a while, he continued, we need to believe in Star Constellation Heavens will and do as she says. We will definitely win this time, this is our fate. Duke Long's unwavering determination rubbed off on Fairy Ziwei. In Heavenly Court's actions later, it went according to Star Constellation Heaven's will's instructions. Duke Long and the rest did not defy her. While Heaven Overseeing Tower moved in White Heaven, it was obstructed by Purple Mountain True Monarch's methods. It was carrying Duke Long, Fairy Ziwei, and other Gu immortals of the 10 great ancient sects, joining in this crucial battle. Fang Yuan's analysis was correct. Even though he did not understand why Heavenly Court refused to send more Gu immortals, this did not stop him from seeing through this detail. Precisely so, Fang Yuan made the decision to use the Super Gu formation to help Wu Xie and affect the battle between Duke Long and Purple Mountain True Monarch. Using Treasure Yellow Heaven, Fang Yuan successfully obtained an information path Gu worm from Wu Xie. This information path Gu worm allowed him to talk directly to Purple Mountain True Monarch. Fang Yuan helped Wu Xie so as to gain Shadow Sect's initial trust, otherwise, how could he get this Gu worm? This Gu worm and Purple Mountain True Monarch had a close relationship. With it, he would have a crucial clue and would be able to deduce matters on Purple Mountain True Monarch. Thus, these Gu worms were usually kept very closely to oneself. Only in this situation would Purple Mountain True Monarch give this information path Gu worm to Fang Yuan. During normal times, they would definitely need to set an information path alliance agreement. After getting the information path Gu worm, Purple Mountain True Monarch contacted Fang Yuan and said, Fang Yuan, I need to thank you. Purple Mountain True Monarch is a great title, thanks for bestowing it, I like it. Fang Yuan did not expect that the lie he used to deceive Tai Bai Yun Sheng would become reality one day. Purple Mountain True Monarch had well-honed interpersonal skills. Once he said that, the relationship between him and Fang Yuan became much closer. Fang Yuan laughed, then I'll call you Purple Mountain True Monarch. You have already felt my sincerity, we are working together, I am not the only one putting in effort. Now, it is time for your side of the deal. Purple Mountain True Monarch attacked Duke Long fiercely while answering, okay, what do you want? He knew what strength Fong Yuan had, but in this crucial moment, he did not hesitate at all. Fong Yuan answered, heavenly crystals. I want a large amount of heavenly crystals. Heavenly crystals were too hard to obtain. Even though they were sold in Treasure Yellow Heaven, they were rare and in small quantities. Fong Yuan's needs were not satisfied. But Shadow Sect had them. Fong Yuan did not doubt that. Even though Shadow Sect was greatly damaged and lost a lot, it did not lack resources. Fong Yuan could see this during his pursuit of Ing Wuxia and gang. As expected, Purple Mountain True Monarch answered, okay, I have a lot of heavenly crystals, they can be given to you to express my sincerity. You want heavenly crystals to nurture the upper extreme heavenly eagle? This is a sound idea. Reverse flow protection seal cannot be used recklessly. But even if you turn the upper extreme heavenly eagle into a true immemorial desolate beast, you might not be able to control it. I know about your enslavement path method. But don't worry, I have a method for you to control the upper extreme heavenly eagle. Purple Mountain True Monarch's words made Fong Yuan overjoyed and also incredibly amazed. Purple Mountain True Monarch was very generous, he gave up the heavenly crystals to gain Fong Yuan's support without hesitation. He was already in a passive state, thus, when he said his later words, the method to control upper extreme heavenly eagle, he lured Fong Yuan. This was turning his position from passive to active. As expected of a rank 8 wisdom path Gu immortal, his words were filled with wisdom. Fong Yuan felt the aura of an intense opponent. Fong Yuan was silent before saying, adding in another method to control the upper extreme heavenly eagle is fine. But now, I have something more important to do. He said that as if he had some way to control the upper extreme heavenly eagle himself. This way, Purple Mountain True Monarch's bargaining chip was not as significant. Purple Mountain True Monarch smiled, what is more important? That is, both of us need to enter a ceasefire now. Fong Yuan said. Shadow Sect would benefit from this matter, it was good for Fong Yuan too, only Heavenly Court would not stand to gain from it. Immediately, Purple Mountain True Monarch gave his orders, recalling the Gu immortals of Shadow Sect. Fong Yuan also sent orders, even though the southern border Gu immortals did not understand it, due to Wu Yihai's identity in his control of the Gu formation, they listened to him. Both sides began to separate. Shadow Sect had many losses, only Ing Wuxia, Bai Ning Bing, He Lulan, Fairy Miao Yin and so on were left. Over at southern border, even though there were losses, they were not significant, their numbers were not lacking. However, Shadow Sect's pure dream reality seeker physique bodies were still breaking out of the cocoons, the numbers were increasing as the dream realm continued to weaken and vanish. This situation was the worst for Heavenly Court. The difference in strength between both sides is shrinking. Now, what will Heavenly Court do? Fong Yuan was vigilant against Heavenly Court's actions. Duke Long was still sleeping, while Fairy Ziwei was increasing her speed of taking over the Super Gu formation. Heaven Overseeing Tower was still entangled with Zui Yi Hui. Boom! Zui Yi Hui raised its left claw and jumped up, slamming Heaven Overseeing Tower to the ground. Heaven Overseeing Tower flickered with white light, being undamaged. Zui Yi Hui opened its mouth and let out Grey Knight. Heaven Overseeing Tower used Fate Vanquish again. The two killer moves faced off. Grey Knight vanished in the white light as Zui Yi Hui was pushed away with broken bones and tendons. But almost instantly, it used an immortal killer move and its injuries vanished. Regaining its peak condition, Zui Yi Hui growled again and attacked Heaven Overseeing Tower with fury and hatred. There was a sigh in Heaven Overseeing Tower, before it flew into the sky. Zui Yi Hui had its flying killer move too, it flew into the sky and chased after Heaven Overseeing Tower. The Central Continent Gu immortals in the tower had nervous and anxious expressions. Damn it! This immemorial desolate beast is too sturdy, it is able to use killer moves, Heaven Overseeing Tower cannot deal with it in a short time. What do we do? Lord Duke Long was targeted and fell into a dream realm, being attacked by the rank 8 demon. We need to go. We need to send reinforcements to Lord Duke Long, if this goes on, it will not be good. But Lord Duke Long instructed before leaving that we need to stay inside Heaven Overseeing Tower, we cannot move rashly. Times are different now. There are rank 8 Gu immortals among us, now that Lord Duke Long is in danger, he has lost control of the battle. If we do not help him, Lord Duke Long will be in danger. After a short discussion, Heaven Overseeing Tower attacked, temporarily pushing Zui Hui back and creating a chance. 2 Central Continent Gu immortals took the chance to fly out of Heaven Overseeing Tower and move towards Duke Long. Haha, 2 rats came out. Zui Hui laughed, a sinister light shining in its bestial eyes. It opened its bloodthirsty mouth. The 2 Central Continent Gu immortals' bodies shook, as if they had encountered a predator, they felt an incredible danger and could not control themselves. Crack! Zui Hui shut its mouth, even though it was far from these 2 Central Continent Gu immortals, when its teeth connected, it was as if it had bitten these 2 Central Continent Gu immortals. Blood flowed out of its mouth. At the same time, the 2 Central Continent Gu immortals were spurting out blood, they were covered in terrifying wounds, their organs were punctured, their entire bodies looked completely deformed. This is a food path killer move. It is hard to defend against. Zui Hui has human intelligence, it knows how to use the tactic of targeting an enemy's weakness. Quick, bring the 2 back. Heaven Overseeing Tower quickly tried to save them, and because the 2 Central Continent rank 8s had methods to help themselves, they narrowly escaped death and were not eaten by Zui Hui. After escaping that danger, the Central Continent Gu immortals realized the terrifying power of Zui Hui. Indeed worthy of a legendary immemorial desolate beast, the beast that reckless savage left behind. But this way, how can we save Lord Duke Long? Bring Heaven Overseeing Tower in. It is too dangerous. If we are sent into a dream realm, we will lose Heaven Overseeing Tower, can any of us bear that responsibility? While Central Continent's Gu immortals were discussing, Duke Long was in the greatest danger he had ever been in. Purple Mountain True Monarch's methods were finally working, he broke through Duke Long's defenses. Break! Purple Mountain True Monarch flew to Duke Long and spat out some purple gas. This mystical breath landed on Duke Long and dissolved all of his defenses. Immortal killer move, brilliant will dissolution. Die! Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes shined with bright purple light, he used his killer move on Duke Long. But at this moment, Duke Long opened his eyes. Boom! There was a thunderous explosion. Purple Mountain True Monarch flew out from the dust and smoke as Duke Long stood on the spot. He had woken up. How could he escape so quickly? Xianxia was greatly shocked, he quickly used Lead Soul into Dream. Purple Mountain True Monarch had a bad feeling, Duke Long had woken up at a very coincidental time, he wanted to stop Xianxia, but it was too late. Duke Long vanished instantly and Xianxia received the backlash of the killer move. He had fallen into the dream himself. This move seems to be called Lead Soul into Dream. It is a good move. If I had more time, I would be able to decipher its profundity. Duke Long spoke. As the vigilant appearance of Purple Mountain True Monarch was reflected in his cold dragon eyes, Duke Long continued speaking, as for you, if your methods are only at this level, you will not be able to handle my next move. Because this was created by Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable. Duke Long cultivated Chi Path primarily and Transformation Path secondarily. At this moment, he was finally going to use his true methods. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1367, Triple Chi Retraction. Chapter 1367, Triple Chi Retraction. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. After Duke Long said that, his aura changed abruptly. He had just forced Purple Mountain True Monarch back, and caused Ing Wu Xie's lead soul into Dream to be ineffective. His aura was overwhelming, he was like a giant dragon soaring into the sky. But now, it was decreasing. Decrease was not an appropriate word. It was condensing and solidifying. His overwhelming aura earlier was condensing now. In a few breaths' time, Duke Long's shocking aura was completely concealed. He was like a deep abyss, unfathomable and mysterious. Purple Mountain True Monarch acted like he was facing a strong foe. He could sense that Duke Long in this condition was much more dangerous than Duke Long with overwhelming aura. Roar! Duke Long opened his mouth and roared. Next, he vanished entirely on the spot. Oh no! Purple Mountain True Monarch's heart sank. Duke Long was doing the same thing again. He had once used this method to teleport to Purple Mountain True Monarch and use Chaotic Dragon Fist, suppressing Purple Mountain True Monarch. Ordinary Gu immortals would not be able to react even if they knew about Duke Long's intention. But Purple Mountain True Monarch was different. He cultivated Wisdom Path, he could think rapidly. Almost at the same time as Duke Long roared, Purple Mountain True Monarch finished thinking and reacted. In their earlier combat, Purple Mountain True Monarch had seen through the secret of Duke Long's teleportation. At this moment, he used the same method again, eradicating the sound of the dragon's roar around him. Indeed, at the next moment, Duke Long stopped moving, he reappeared in front of Purple Mountain True Monarch. But this time, he did not succeed in getting close, he was still several hundred steps away from Purple Mountain True Monarch. But to Duke Long, this was enough distance. Human Chi Retraction. He shouted, waving at Purple Mountain True Monarch. His movement was very ordinary, like a friend waving to another friend. But Purple Mountain True Monarch suffered a huge blow. A huge amount of human chi gushed out of his body and flew towards Duke Long uncontrollably. In the blink of an eye, it entered Duke Long's palm and vanished. After losing such a huge amount of human chi, Purple Mountain True Monarch's eye socket sank in, his expression turned pale and his bright purple hair became dull, he felt an intense feeling of weakness in his head and throughout his entire body. Deep within Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes, a mysterious light of shock could be seen. When he heard Duke Long's shout, he thought of a famous Chi Path killer move. Triple Chi Retraction. This killer move was created by Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable. It had two very well-known traits. The first was that it was very difficult to learn. This killer move was incredibly complex and used a lot of Gu worms. They were used interchangeably with countless steps, even Wisdom Path Gu immortals would have a headache in attempting it. The second was that the risks were huge. Because this killer move was very complex, when Gu immortals used it and made a mistake, the huge backlash would be inflicted on them. If the killer move succeeded and could not hit the enemy, this killer move would return and harm the user. Triple Chi Retraction had incredibly terrifying power. The explanation started at the process of immortal ascension. When humans underwent immortal ascension, there were three Chi involved: Heaven Chi, Earth Chi, and Human Chi. When Gu Masters cultivate from rank 1 to rank 5, they would accumulate human chi in this process. When they undergo ascension, they would take in Heaven and Earth Chi, the three Chi would become one and the Gu Master would concentrate in controlling them, tossing their vital Gu in and creating the immortal aperture through an explosion. The more human Chi the Gu Master had, the more Heaven and Earth Chi they would be able to fuse, and the higher the grade of the immortal aperture they would get. Normally speaking, the 10 extreme physiques meant incredibly abundant human chi, far beyond normal people. Or perhaps a Gu Master could make accumulations by themselves, regardless of what path, as long as one had Grandmaster attainment level, their human chi would be very abundant. After creating the immortal aperture, be it cultivation or managing the immortal aperture, Gu immortals had to keep a balance between the three chi. Heaven Chi, Earth Chi, Human Chi, not one of the three could be lacking and break the balance. Like Feng Yuan, after getting a secluded domain of heaven and earth like reverse flow river, the heaven and earth chi expenditure of the sovereign immortal aperture became extremely high. Thus, he had to place his immortal aperture often to take in heaven and earth chi of the outside world, to replenish himself and maintain balance. Regarding the three chi, no matter which Gu immortal or venerable, they could not be careless about it. In the world of the five regions, heaven and earth chi varied. If Gu immortals who were not native took in foreign heaven and earth chi, their immortal apertures would suffer great losses. Even though they could do that in an emergency situation, it could not happen a lot of times. When Gu immortals die, blessed lands would form. For example, in Luopa Valley, many central continent Gu immortals died in the battlefield. Their immortal apertures became blessed lands in northern plains, but because they took in heaven and earth chi of another region, the foundation and resources inside the blessed lands were greatly damaged. All of these explanations serve to prove a point: heaven, earth and human chi, they were incredibly important to the immortal aperture and Gu immortals. Any imbalance would cause great damage to the immortal aperture. And this immortal killer move, triple chi retraction, targeted this point. It directly attacked the foundation of the immortal aperture. It was the combination of a consecutive move and variation move. Thus, the Gu immortal who used this killer move had to be extremely skilled. Triple chi retraction had three styles. The first style, human chi retraction. After the target was hit, they would lose a lot of human chi, their foundation would fall. Of course, if the target had no human chi, like a desolate beast, this move would have no effect. The second style, earth chi retraction. If hit, the Gu immortal's immortal aperture would be drained of earth chi. With a severe loss of earth chi, the three chi would completely be out of balance, the immortal aperture would be in grave danger. The third style, heaven chi retraction. This would extract heaven chi. If a person was hit by all three moves, their immortal aperture would break apart instantly. Purple Mountain True Monarch retreated. He was already hit by human chi retraction. If he was hit by earth chi retraction too, the disadvantage would be too severe. Even though Purple Mountain True Monarch knew about this move, this was his first time seeing it, he could not see through it in this short period. This move was too complex. The more complex a move was, even though it was more difficult to use in battle, it was also harder for opponents to unravel. After all, everything had advantages and disadvantages. Purple Mountain True Monarch could not resolve it, he could only use his methods as he created countless clones. At once, hundreds of Purple Mountain True Monarchs flew out randomly. At the same time, his main body vanished. Triple chi retraction was powerful, but if it could not hit, it was useless. However, Duke Long was unmoved. He was completely prepared for Purple Mountain True Monarch's response. Next, he laughed coldly as his voice spread throughout the battlefield. Even though he was not loud, "It is too late, Purple Mountain True Monarch, you were hit by human chi retraction, there is no way for you to dodge the next two styles, you can only endure it. Come, earth chi retraction." Duke Long paused before waving again. He was not trying to deceive him. Duke Long's waving motion was not in the right direction, and he did not make any investigations. He had no idea where Purple Mountain True Monarch was now, but he was still hit instantly. Purple Mountain True Monarch was greatly shocked. A vast amount of earth chi flew out of his immortal aperture, raging on like a storm towards Duke Long's palm, before vanishing without a trace. Purple Mountain True Monarch's immortal aperture was greatly damaged, his foundations were crippled and his three chi had lost balance long ago. His immortal aperture was going to break apart in a few breaths' time. At this moment, one final choice was presented to Purple Mountain True Monarch. Placing his aperture. Placing his aperture here. This way, he could take in heaven and earth chi to regain balance. But Purple Mountain True Monarch gave up on this option immediately. This was a horrible idea. Once Purple Mountain True Monarch placed his aperture, his main body would be stuck in his immortal aperture, he would leave the battlefield immediately and lose all initiative. And most importantly, the immortal aperture could only take in heaven and earth chi by opening the entrance. A passage was necessary. And outside, Duke Long was waiting for him. If this immortal aperture's entrance opened, Duke Long would charge in and easily deal great damage to the immortal aperture. Furthermore, he could fight or retreat at will, while Purple Mountain True Monarch would be trapped inside his immortal aperture. Even if I place my aperture and replenish my earth chi, the balance was long since lost due to my lack of human chi. I do not have the human path methods needed to replenish human chi, I can only buy large numbers of humans or variant humans. Countless thoughts flashed inside Purple Mountain True Monarch's mind. In a short time, he made his choice. He stretched out his arm and grabbed at his stomach, before an eerie purple light shined in his hand, as his hand pulled away from his stomach slowly. With his movement, the immortal aperture was taken out. Seeing this, Fang Yuan felt a familiar feeling in his mind. He thought of Blazing Heaven Demonis. Blazing Heaven Demonis had a fire path method that could take someone else's immortal aperture. This move left a deep impression on Fang Yuan. How does Purple Mountain True Monarch know this? Fang Yuan was a little puzzled, but he soon understood. Blazing Heaven Demonis was a member of Zombie Alliance to begin with, and He Lu Lan was firmly controlled by Shadow Sect. It was not strange for Purple Mountain True Monarch to know this method. All the paths in the world, with a deep enough attainment, could mimic other paths and achieve their effects. Purple Mountain True Monarch's move was evidently a wisdom path method. It could also be that he created it himself and it had nothing to do with Blazing Heaven Demonis. Purple Mountain True Monarch took out his immortal aperture and placed it in the outside world. The immortal aperture's entrance opened and began to take in earth chi. But this grotto heaven had little hope of salvation. Even if the earth chi was regained, human chi was too lacking. Seeing Purple Mountain True Monarch's resolution, Duke Long was slightly shocked. A look of admiration flashed on his face for a moment. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1368, Capturing Spectral Soul. Chapter 1368, Capturing Spectral Soul. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Purple Mountain True Monarch lost his immortal aperture, he lost his cultivation foundation. Without his immortal aperture, his future was bleak. Forget about the future, even now, after his immortal aperture left his body, he lost a huge amount of Dao marks. Even though he kept most of the Gu worms and immortal essence with him, without the amplification of Dao marks, his battle strength fell to rock bottom. This was something he had no other way to deal with. If his heaven chi was extracted, Purple Mountain True Monarch's immortal aperture would break apart, the winds of assimilation will blow and he would be in even greater danger of losing his life. Triple chi retraction was simply too incredible. It directly targeted the Gu Immortal's foundation. Even the great Purple Mountain True Monarch had to discard his own immortal aperture. It was like an iron palm. 1. Martial arts expert breaking his own two arms. Fang Yuan watched this, filled with shock. Throughout history, there were only 10 who became venerables. Anything related to these 10 existences could become extraordinary. Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's formless hand was like this, so was Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's reincarnation battlefield, and so was Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable's triple chi retraction. What can we do? Fang Yuan thought hard on how to change the situation. There was nothing he could do. He could only feel glad now. Glad that Purple Mountain True Monarch had already given him all the heavenly crystals earlier. While manipulating the Super Gu formation and resisting Fairy Z Wei, he started to nurture the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle. He had a lot of heavenly crystals now, far more than the Heavenly Crystal Eagle nest earlier. Even if the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle became an immemorial desolate beast, the same thing would not happen again, it would not starve to death. Indeed worthy of Duke Long. Purple Mountain True Monarch spoke, expressing his admiration towards Duke Long. Duke Long was too powerful. He definitely had quasi-rank 9 battle strength. Against ordinary rank 8 Gu immortals, he could crush them. Only people like Purple Mountain True Monarch, at the peak of rank 8, and being one of the original split souls of spectral soul demon Venerable, having cultivated for 100,000 years, had the foundation and qualifications to challenge him. But after dozens of rounds, after Duke Long's probing ended, he realized that Purple Mountain True Monarch had no true way of countering him, so he started to use his Chi Path trump card. Triple Chi Retraction was incredibly powerful, but such a strong killer move would leave the user in horrible condition if it was countered. It was like lifting a rock and smashing it on one's own head. Thus, any Gu immortal would be very careful with such a killer move. Like how Fang Yuan would rather nurture the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle than use Reverse Flow Protection Seal. In this battle, I am bullying a junior. If you were not someone who is defying fate, we might be able to sit down and have a nice conversation. After all, in this world, there are too few people who can register my interest. However, I believe that in the near future, the entire world will brighten up, it will become incredibly exciting. And I will be the person to unveil this great new era. Duke Long sighed, starting to chase after Purple Mountain True Monarch. Purple Mountain True Monarch fought and retreated, he was completely suppressed. He was hit by the first two styles of Triple Chi Retraction, his battle strength fell drastically, he was not Duke Long's match originally, the situation was worse now. Duke Long's attacks were powerful and unceasing, at this moment, he surpassed Purple Mountain True Monarch in every aspect. Purple Mountain True Monarch could only hold on desperately while trying to use the killer move to create pure dream reality seeker physique bodies, but he had no choice other than to stop it. Wu Xie was still stuck in a dream realm, the other Gu immortals only watched helplessly. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth, having a heavy heart. He quickly looked around the battlefield. Duke Long had a great advantage, Purple Mountain True Monarch was a lost cause. The only way now was to target the enemy's weakness to salvage the situation. However, Duke Long had predicted this when he sent his forces. All of the people he sent out were powerful beings. Ignoring Duke Long, Fairy Z-Wei had star constellation chessboard, while Heaven Overseeing Tower was tough as a fortress. Even though Zui Yi Hui was attacking, it could only damage the exterior. There were many southern border righteous path Gu immortals, but they could not interfere in a battle of such intensity. Oh no! This cannot go on. Once Purple Mountain True Monarch loses, the entire battle will tilt in Heavenly Court's favor. By then, there will be too little hope for me to escape. Should I retreat now? Should I take a gamble on whether Heavenly Court has already found a way to counter Reverse Flow Protection Seal? Fang Yuan could not help but hesitate. This was something hard to decide on. But at this time, the battle between Purple Mountain True Monarch and Duke Long had a new development. A Blessed Land's entrance suddenly opened, as a huge soul beast army appeared from within. Purple Mountain True Monarch relied on these soul beasts to block Duke Long's attacks as he retreated into the Blessed Land. This is Shadow Sect's Blessed Land. Fang Yuan saw this as his eyes shined brightly, flashing with dazzling light. During the Battle of Tian Mountain, Shadow Sect's Blessed Land was moved here by Shadow Sect. Shadow Sect's Blessed Land contained the door of life and death. Spectral Soul had emerged from it to resist the heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities, unleashing his great power and killing Heavenly Court's Gu immortals. Heaven Overseeing Tower was destroyed and Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu was refined. After the Battle of Tian Mountain, Shadow Sect met with failure as Fang Yuan snatched the fruits of their labor. The Dream Realm covered the entire place and Shadow Sect's Blessed Land had to shut its entrance, defending from the outside. Purple Mountain True Monarch led Shadow Sect here and had been using his killer move to turn dream realms into pure dream reality seeker physique bodies. After trying hard, unknowingly, the Blessed Land was freed, as the surrounding dream realms were removed. Thus, the entrance of Shadow Sect's Blessed Land could open again. There were countless soul beasts inside the door of life and death, they were all mobilized now to attack Duke Long. These soul beasts were of a massive scale. There were countless desolate beasts, with many ancient desolate beasts and even immemorial desolate beasts among them. The Soul Beast army disregarded sacrifices, attacking Duke Long in a suicidal manner. Purple Mountain True Monarch passed through the Immortal Aperture's entrance with the help of the Soul Beasts, entering Shadow Sect's Blessed Land. The appearance of the Soul Beast army did not turn the situation around, it only gave Purple Mountain True Monarch some time to regain his footing. Fang Yuan, let out your upper extreme heavenly eagle, what are you waiting for? At the same time, Purple Mountain True Monarch continued to ask Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan snickered. This was already the 50th time he had asked. Ever since he was hit by the Chi Path Killer move, he had been urging Fang Yuan to no avail. The upper extreme heavenly eagle was his final trump card, even if it was uncontrollable, he could let it out to cause chaos. How could he release it according to Purple Mountain True Monarch's words? Charge in, this blessed land is Shadow Sect's base camp. Fang Yuan thought, he wanted to see Duke Long enter the blessed land and fight to the death with Shadow Sect. He wanted Shadow Sect's blessed land to be full of traps, so that Duke Long could meet with trouble. But Duke Long did not pursue him, he stopped his movement. Fang Yuan was disappointed, while Purple Mountain True Monarch was slightly flustered. Duke Long's lips curled upwards, for the first time, he showed a natural smile. He suddenly turned around, charging somewhere with the speed of lightning. You finally decided to come out? Spectral Soul. He shouted, attacking as air currents raged, turning into a huge claw that grabbed at an area in the Soul Beast army. He found out. Purple Mountain True Monarch felt like he had fallen into an icy river. From the Soul Beast army, a human-shaped soul emerged, he did not evade Duke Long, he attacked. Boom! Even the powerful Duke Long was sent flying, while that human-shaped soul remained unmoved. Ha ha ha! Duke Long spat out blood but he laughed, Spectral Soul, you are truly at your weakest. Damn it! Purple Mountain True Monarch quickly charged ahead, trying to reinforce him, panic showed on his face for the first time. Fang Yuan saw this and finally understood everything. Shadow Sect is truly cunning. Purple Mountain True Monarch created a huge amount of pure dream reality seeker physique bodies, seemingly wanting to let Spectral Soul escape, but this was all a distraction. His true intention was to let out the Soul Beast army for Spectral Soul to devour and strengthen himself. Spectral Soul had the supreme method of devouring souls, that was the only way he could recover his strength rapidly, he might even be able to help Purple Mountain True Monarch defeat Duke Long. But all this was predicted by Duke Long in advance. Duke Long attacked while Spectral Soul was still weak, Purple Mountain True Monarch had to intervene. Too late. Duke Long laughed, stretching his arms as his dragon claws tore through space, forcing Purple Mountain True Monarch to retreat. Duke Long attacked Spectral Soul again, air currents raged like dragons, entangling with Spectral Soul's main body. Spectral Soul's main body was originally very powerful, it was considered a quasi-rank 9 immemorial soul beast, it could even use goo worms and the immortal essence he had left behind in his lifetime. But after the Battle of Tian Mountain, Spectral Soul only had a trace of his remnant soul left. And this trace of his remnant soul was surrounded by dream realms, constantly consumed. The human-shaped soul roared, forcefully defending against Duke Long's methods. Duke Long's dragon eyes shined with intense fighting spirit, you want to resist me? Oh Spectral Soul, if you were still a rank 9, I would avoid you at all costs, I would escape to the ends of the world. But now, you are just a remnant soul. Your goo worms and immortal essence are not with you. I have been waiting for you for a long time. I'll tell you the truth, I am here to capture and imprison you within Heavenly Court. So that the entire world will understand the supreme might and glory of my Heavenly Court. The human-shaped soul was still struggling, while Purple Mountain True Monarch attacked Duke Long like he had gone mad. Duke Long defended against the latter easily while he looked at the human-shaped soul. He said arrogantly, still going to struggle pointlessly? In the past, even Red Lotus Demon Venerable was stopped by me. Now, surrender to me. As he said that, Spectral Soul's main body was unable to defend against Duke Long's methods, he was trapped by a cage created from countless air currents. Like what Duke Long had said, he actually managed to capture Spectral Soul's main soul body. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1369, Elder Brother, quickly lend me immortal goo. Chapter 1369, Elder Brother, quickly lend me Immortal Gu. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Seeing this, Fang Yuan could not help but stare with wide eyes. A rank 9 venerable, with overwhelming prestige that flowed into every Gu master's and Gu immortal's heart, like a river of fame. But now, Fang Yuan saw that spectral soul was actually captured by a rank 8 Gu immortal. As a matter of fact, who is this Duke Long? He is actually so strong. However, thinking about it, spectral soul had died long ago, this is only his soul remaining. If his soul was in top condition, Duke Long would not be able to take him down. But unfortunately, spectral soul had resisted the tribulations and made great sacrifices to refine sovereign immortal Daoist Gu. Even though he succeeded and forced back Heaven Overseeing Tower, the result of his hard work was taken by me. Shadow Sect only had some remnant forces remaining while Zombie Alliance was wiped out, their losses were severe. And his own soul was depleted until only a trace was left in Etian Mountain. After falling into the dream realm and being weakened for so long, it is already unthinkable that he could last this long. Fang Yuan thought about himself, if his soul was thrown into such a massive dream realm, weakened and depleted by it, without using any dream path killer moves, he would only be able to last for a few days. Even though spectral soul only had a trace of his soul left, the quality was superb, he could endure such a long period of time, even now, he could still struggle. It was not strange that Duke Long could capture him. After all, Duke Long was strong while spectral soul was currently weak. Spectral soul's era was over. He had once slaughtered the world and his demonic might spread over the 5 regions and 2 heavens, it was a chaotic time period. In his life, he was invincible in the world, he was the strongest being alive, and had the greatest status in heaven and earth. However, time flowed like water, he eventually died. After death, and with the appearance of Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's influence was greatly reduced, peace and blessings were brought to this world. Even after Spectral Soul died, he was not resigned to failure. He built Shadow Sect and Zombie Alliance, attempting to defy heaven again. Sword Immortal Bo Qing was his first attempt, but he only managed to become a pseudo-immortal venerable, and his corpse sank into falling heavenly river. Sovereign Immortal Daoist Gu was his second attempt, but the world schemed against him, his hard work of 100,000 years was taken away by Fang Yuan. The failure of Etian Mountain and Spectral Soul's terrible loss had consumed all of his foundation. But with just Shadow Sect's remnant forces, he still whipped up a storm. Until now, Spectral Soul failed completely and was captured by Heavenly Court's Duke Long. The great era is coming, antiques like myself should quietly lie down and stop trying to become the main characters of the current era. O Spectral Soul, your era is long gone. Duke Long sighed as he stretched out his hand, air currents moved and carried Spectral Soul as it entered his phantom aperture. Ah! Purple Mountain True Monarch screamed at the sky, his eyes were bloodshot. Seeing how Spectral Soul had fallen into captivity, he almost went crazy. Even the main body was captured, all hope was lost. A complete loss. But Purple Mountain True Monarch was a wisdom path Gu immortal after all, he held in the urge to seek out Duke Long for a suicidal attack. That would truly be giving up. He breathed in deeply and moved towards a deeper part of Shadow Sect's blessed land. Running? Why do you think you're going? Duke Long floated in the air, his dragon eyes looked towards Purple Mountain True Monarch with a cold gaze. The entrance of Shadow Sect's blessed land closed, and the Soul Beast army stopped charging out, they returned to defend it. Duke Long laughed arrogantly, he turned around to look at the Super Gu formation and saw that Fairy Z-Wei was making good progress, he aimed at the location of Shadow Sect's blessed land and used an immortal killer move. Dragon Gate. This dragon gate was majestic and huge, there were 2 red pillars by the side with a dragon coiling around each of them, their dragon claws were holding up the top of the gate, firm as a mountain. There were flickering dragon scales and 2 tough dragon bodies. The dragon bodies coiled around the huge pillars, as the dragon's upper bodies looked at each other, the dragon mouths were open with a dragon pearl in each of them, shining like radiant suns, forming a scene of 2 dragons and 2 pearls. The dragon gate opened, the interior of Shadow Sect's blessed land could be seen. This immortal killer move, Dragon Gate, could forcefully open blessed lands. Duke Long laughed, stepping in as the Dragon Gate closed, before vanishing. There was an intense battle in the blessed land, but there was no commotion outside. The entire battlefield fell into a peculiar silence. But it could be easily imagined that Shadow Sect's blessed land was definitely not peaceful. With Duke Long inside, the Soul Beast army was definitely attacking him endlessly. What do we do? Southern Border's Righteous Path Gu immortals looked at each other. Suddenly, they realized that they had no enemies left. Purple Mountain True Monarch against Duke Long, they were inside Shadow Sect's blessed land. Bai Ning Bing, He Lu Lan, Ing Wu Xie, and the rest were hiding inside the dream realms with the pure dream reality seeker physique bodies. The only things moving in the battlefield were soul beasts. Countless soul beasts were rampaging the battlefield. A portion of them were inside dream realms, unable to escape. They were quickly dissolved by the dream realms. Most of the soul beasts saw the dangers of the dream realms and escaped due to their survival instincts. Soul beasts could hunt for all lifeforms with souls and devour them to strengthen themselves. Southern Border's Righteous Path Gu immortals quickly became the targets of these soul beasts, even though they did not want to fight. Wu Yi Hai, quickly send us into the Gu formation. The Southern Border Righteous Path Gu immortals quickly requested. They did not want to leave. Because now, Shadow Sect lost, Heavenly Court was likely to win. And Heavenly Court had not shown any killing intent toward Southern Border's Righteous Path. Southern Border's Righteous Path Gu immortals subconsciously thought that Heavenly Court was on their side. After all, they were all in the Righteous Path. One was Central Continent's Righteous Path, and the other was Southern Border's Righteous Path. Of course, there was also another important element that affected their judgment. The Dream Realm. This dream realm might be extremely scattered now, but from the perspectives of Southern Border's Gu immortals, it was their resource, it belonged to them. Furthermore, they had witnessed the battle between Duke Long and Purple Mountain True Monarch, as well as Spectral Soul's main body. They finally experienced some of the hidden details of the Battle of Tian Mountain. The huge secret of a rank 9 Venerable was here. There might be a fortuitous encounter. Who would want to leave? This was Southern Border's Super Gu formation, and all sorts of reinforcements from the super clans were rapidly getting closer. As for Heaven Overseeing Tower and Zui Yi Hui, they were still fighting, with both sides in a deadlock. Fong Yuan ordered, everyone, work hard to kill these soul beasts. Our reinforcements are coming closer. These soul beasts were sent by the enemy, killing them is weakening the enemy. If we let these soul beasts leave, there would be a huge problem. This is the responsibility of the Righteous Path. These words made sense, but the Southern Border Righteous Path Gu immortals did not listen to him. Aren't the reinforcements arriving? Let them handle it. That's right, I am so tired, I need to rest. Even if we are not injured currently, our immortal essence expenditure was huge. We need to save up our battle strength and not waste it. Fong Yuan snorted, I'm telling you to go, enough nonsense. Southern Border's Righteous Path Gu immortals scolded and cursed, but Fong Yuan ignored them. He was doing something very exciting. That was asking Wu Clan for help. Quick, it is very dangerous here, the situation is very complex. Quickly send the Gu worms I need over with treasure Yellow Heaven. No worries, I will bear all the cost myself. Why do I want Bloodline Immortal Gu? I need to use it in the Super Gu formation and increase its power. It is difficult because I am borrowing so many Immortal Gu. Why are you troubled? This is not my first time borrowing Gu. What? Borrowing Immortal Gu in Wu Clan's internal treasury requires the first Supreme Elder's approval. Fong Yuan contacted Wu Yong. Elder brother, quickly lend me a hand. Wu Yong was controlling the Immortal Gu house and rapidly moving. Hearing his brother's words, he replied, what happened? What help do you need? I am sure you know about the situation, brother. I am controlling the Super Gu formation now. This is a great opportunity. It can allow our Wu clan to control this resource point and suppress the other clans. We will be free from our difficult situation. Fang Yuan spoke sincerely. Wu Yong was silent for a moment. This battlefield was not sealed. Southern Border's righteous path Gu immortals could communicate with their clans using information path methods. Over at Wu clan, they only had Fang Yuan and Wu Liao, along with Xiao clan's Gu immortals. Thus, all of the reinforcements were familiar with the battlefield situation. Wu Yong was no exception. At the crucial moment, Fang Yuan salvaged the situation and took over Qi Gui's spot in the Super Gu formation. Wu Yong naturally knew about this. When he first heard it, he was a little surprised. He did not expect his own brother to have such a strong formation path attainment. But Wu Yong quickly accepted it. Why? Because earlier, Fang Yuan had competed with Qi Shang in terms of formation path. Among them, Xiao Si Lu was involved. Rumors about them had caused a commotion in Southern Border for some time. Fang Yuan exposed his formation path attainment. Everyone was shocked about it, but because of that, everyone could accept this result easily. If Wu Yihai were a Gu immortal born and bred in Southern Border, he would face great suspicion. The great thing was, Wu Yihai came from Eastern Sea. The Southern Border Gu immortals did not know much about him. Therefore, Fang Yuan had ample room to act and perform. Wu Yong heard Fang Yuan's words. He could use reputation restriction immortal Gu to reinforce the Super Gu formation and gain more benefits for Wu clan. He hesitated. But his hesitation had no suspicion in it. He believed Fang Yuan. He had not suspected that Wu Yihai was an impostor from the very start. His hesitation was about how reliable Fang Yuan's plan was, and how successful it could be. If the chances of success were low, and if they failed, what would Wu clan's political situation become? These were all things that Wu Yong had to consider. As a person in power, he needed to have foresight. He could not focus solely on immediate benefits. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1370, Shadow Sect's New Leader. Chapter 1370, Shadow Sect's New Leader. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Wu Yong's hesitation did not last long. He quickly decided to act according to Fang Yuan's plan. This was a great opportunity. It was a good chance for Wu clan. Wu Yong had been defending Wu clan and resisting the challenges sent by all the other clans earlier. It was quite a tough time. He did not want to face it again. And he also understood, as long as he, as a rank 8 Gu immortal, did not die, Wu clan would have enough foundation in Southern Border's Gu immortal world. They would never truly fall. Lend him. Fang Yuan wants reputation restriction immortal Gu. He will get to borrow it. Bloodline immortal Gu. Lent. But his action was not blindly decided. Wu Yong and Wu clan's Gu immortals listened to the reasons for Fang Yuan's borrowing. If there was any inconsistencies or illogical points, they would retort and reject him. Such vigilance was the tradition of all the super forces. Immortal Gu were unique. Any immortal Gu, even rank 6, counted as the foundation of a super force. Immortal Gu could not be lent out easily. Fang Yuan had to make up logical reasons in this short time period. It was not easy. But eventually, he still borrowed 6 immortal Gu. 6 immortal Gu is about enough. If we lend more, do you have enough immortal essence to use them? Wu Yong rejected Fang Yuan's request in a nice manner. 6 immortal Gu lent to one person, it was a huge risk. Not that Wu clan suspected Wu Yihai's identity, but if anything happened to him, these immortal Gu would be lost. It would be a huge loss to Wu clan's foundation. Never put all your eggs into one basket. Everyone understood this logic. Fang Yuan sighed deeply. Oh. Brother, your reminder is true. I do not have much red date immortal essence left. Brother, lend me some immortal essence stones. I need to replenish my immortal essence. He decided to get some more benefits. Wu Yong did not hesitate. He approved of it. An emperor has no use for hungry soldiers. Without immortal essence, all those immortal Gu were useless. After lending out so many immortal Gu, they had to make sure they were used properly, right? Fang Yuan obtained 100,000 immortal essence stones. Wu clan was a super force indeed. This showed their tremendous foundation. Use it sparingly. The immortal essence stones and immortal Gu are all lent to you. Remember to be vigilant and careful. Wu Yong told Fang Yuan concernedly. Fang Yuan quickly acknowledged it. Immortal Gu and immortal essence stones were transmitted over through Treasure Yellow Heaven rapidly into Fang Yuan's hands. Treasure Yellow Heaven went into a commotion. Once Fang Yuan obtained them, he quickly turned the immortal essence stones into his immortal essence, while tossing those 6 immortal Gu into reverse flow river. Suppressed entirely. After this battle, Wu Yihai's identity would definitely be exposed. Just a few words from Heavenly Court would attract sufficient suspicion. Fang Yuan could not pass intense investigations, just soul-searching or checking his immortal aperture would expose him. Thus, before running, he had to dig out the last bit of benefits possible. It is a huge pity I could not borrow any immortal Gu house. Fang Yuan pursed his lips. Even though he scammed Wu clan to this extent, he was not fully satisfied. For any super force, immortal Gu houses had much greater significance than immortal Gu. They could not be lent out to Fang Yuan no matter what. Similar to nuclear weapons on Earth, they were the last resorts of certain countries. They could not be lent out. Unless Fang Yuan became someone like Wu Yong who had the greatest authority in Wu clan, then nobody would say anything about him having an immortal Gu house. Like how He Qing borrowed Dark Prison due to the 4 He tribe's supreme elders being forced to stay together as a result of cultivating Green City Rampage and being unable to go out alone. He Qing only managed to gain his authority as a result of this. If Fang Yuan asked to borrow immortal Gu house, Wu Yong's first thought would be, my brother wants to borrow an immortal Gu house. After this battle, if he does not return it, and uses this immortal Gu house together with Xiao clan's help to resist me, what would I do? Also, immortal Gu houses could not be completely sent over using Treasure Yellow Heaven. Immortal Gu houses were Gu formations. Nobody could use Gu formations or killer moves in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Thus, to send an immortal Gu house over, it had to be split apart, but reconstructing an immortal Gu house was very difficult. Immortal Gu houses were the apex of formation path. To create an immortal Gu house, even if one knew about the steps involved, a formation path Gu immortal still needed to focus entirely and put in hard work. Any carelessness and the creation would fail. This was similar to setting up a formation. The Gu immortal would face a backlash and the Gu formation and immortal Gu house would also end in the same result. The risks were too great. Lending Fang Yuan so many immortal Gu and immortal essence stones was Wu clan's limit. This was also due to Fang Yuan being Wu Yong's brother, and the fact that he had contributed a lot to Wu clan recently. If not for Frosty Peak, Moon Bowl, and Mount Snail, Fang Yuan would not be able to borrow it. Fang Yuan was profiting on the side, watching Shadow Sect and Heavenly Court go against each other while he reaped benefits. Even though he tried very hard, the situation did not go according to his wishes. Heavenly Court's Duke Long was too powerful, beyond his imagination. Shadow Sect lost and Heavenly Court won. This was basically assured. Even Spectral Soul's main body had been captured. If Shadow Sect had any other methods, they already would have been used up. Speaking of which, Shadow Sect's foundation was truly deep. It was a pity that their losses were too severe on Etion Mountain when they tried to refine Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu. The loss was too great, they were unable to recover. On their last breaths, they were still faced with Fang Yuan's pursuit. They could not develop properly. But I have captured pure dream reality seeker physique bodies, and gained a lot of heavenly crystals. The upper extreme heavenly eagle is currently being nurtured. And now, I scammed 6 immortal Gu and 100,000 immortal essence stones from Wu clan. My gains are actually huge. Fang Yuan was good at reaping benefits. Until this point, he did not fight to the death, he did not put in much effort, but his gains were still stunning. Unfortunately, Dark Limit Immortal Gu cannot be retrieved. I cannot take it out recklessly now. If the Gu formation breaks apart, I will need to face Fairy Z Wei. There is also another problem, that is Wu Clan's alliance agreement. I joined Wu Clan and underwent an agreement. There is also the Life Tablet Gu and Soul Lantern Gu, they are still inside Wu Clan's ancestral hall. This final problem gave Fang Yuan a headache. The reason why he scammed 6 Immortal Gu was for this problem as well. If Wu Clan used this relationship to try and harm Fang Yuan, he could use the 6 Wu Clan Immortal Gu that he possessed to negotiate with them on that basis. A great chess player would need to plan multiple steps ahead when making a move. Even though Fang Yuan was still stuck in the battlefield now, he was planning for the future. Demonic Path members are truly insidious and greedy beyond hope. Even before death, you are still scamming others. Oh Fang Yuan, your crimes are too severe, you will die today without doubt. Forget about running away, because with me around, you have no hope of escaping. At this time, Fairy Z Wei's voice resounded from the Super Gu formation. Fairy Z Wei must have known about the matter of Fang Yuan borrowing Immortal Gu and Immortal Essence stones from Wu Clan. There was no helping it. Treasure Yellow Heaven was like this, it was an open market, any transaction could be exposed easily. How could Heavenly Court not have methods to observe Treasure Yellow Heaven and keep it under surveillance? Fang Yuan sneered, this is the result of Heavenly Court not exposing me earlier. It seems that you have no conclusive proof. Actually, even if you do, so what? Will Wu Clan believe you? Will Southern Borders Gu Immortal World believe you abruptly? They will only believe in what they have verified themselves. These righteous path forces are like this, any sort of matter would be a political scheme in their eyes. Fairy Z Wei was silent, she did not speak. She understood thoroughly that Fang Yuan was completely immersed into the demonic path, his mind was firm and determined, words could not sway him. Fairy Z Wei chose not to waste her effort on pointless attempts. Her speed in invading the Super Gu formation became quicker now. Fang Yuan's expression changed, realizing that this was bad. At this rate, even if the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle matured, it would be too late. The Super Gu formation would break apart in advance. He had the information path reputation restriction Immortal Gu now. His plan was to use this Immortal Gu to control the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle. But Fang Yuan did not have much confidence in this. Because the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle was an immemorial desolate beast, it had rank 8 battle strength, while reputation restriction Immortal Gu was just rank 7. The only thing that gave Fang Yuan hope was that he indeed had strong reputation, he could hopefully use it to allow reputation restriction Immortal Gu to display incredible power. If it did not work, he would need to release the rampaging upper extreme Heavenly Eagle and create chaos, to find a chance to escape. The battlefield was divided into 4 parts now. The first and most crucial area was the battle between Purple Mountain True Monarch and Duke Long. They were fighting inside Shadow Sect's blessed land, the situation was unknown, but Duke Long had the advantage, it was highly likely that he would emerge victorious. The second area was Heaven Overseeing Tower and Zui Yi Hui, they were unable to defeat each other. Both sides were injured now, even with Zui Yi Hui's incredible recovery speed, it was still covered in wounds, Heaven Overseeing Tower's edges were also breaking apart, it was no longer as grand as before. The third area was the fight between the Southern Border Gu Immortals and Soul Beasts, nothing much was happening. The fourth area was Fairy Z Wei's and Fang Yuan's fight over the Super Gu formation's control. This battlefield was the most secretive, even the Southern Border Righteous Path Gu Immortals were kept in the dark. In Fang Yuan's opinion, it was a foregone conclusion, Heavenly Court was sure to win. In this situation, he could only escape and his plan of fishing for benefits was over. But Fang Yuan was an old demon, even if he was about to be defeated, his gains were tremendous. Now, it is time to see if I can escape. Right when Fang Yuan was working hard on this goal, he received Purple Mountain True Monarch's words, Fang Yuan, can we continue to cooperate? Fang Yuan's interest was roused, of course. He, very good, I was not wrong about you. I will entrust everything to you. My immortal Gu, my killer moves, my experiences, and you will not need to bear any responsibility or task. Ing Wu Xie, He Lu Lan, White Rabbit, Miao Yin and Sixth Hair, they will all be your subordinates. From now onwards, you will be the leader of Shadow Sect. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.